welcome back to Otaku No Video. As always, thanks for joining me for this, the final part of my primer on Yoshiyuki Tomino, the legendary anime director. I've already covered his early history with Astro Boy and such, and all his work on Gundam up through the early 90s. Now, after that, basically Sunrise got bought out by Bandai. They started doing alternate universe Gundam stories, and Tomino moved on to other things. The next thing he made was called Garzey's Wing. I have not seen it, but it's generally considered to be the worst thing Tomino ever made. I'm kind of scared. So, no comment on that. But I do have comments on the rest of the stuff he's done, particularly Brain Powered, which is his next work. Now, a lot of folks would contend that Brain Powered is at least as bad as Garzey's Wing, although it doesn't get as much scorn as Garzey's does. Brain Powered is a mecha series. It essentially combines the worst elements of Tomino's flaws, and if you have problems with those, it's going to be a problem. I mean, Tomino loves to start his stories in media res. Stuff's going on already, characters are already, screaming at each other, there's all sorts of plot already happening. You're kind of dropped in the middle of it, and you get to watch what's going on and kind of figure it out as you go. In a lot of ways, in a lot of stories, it's a great way of doing this. In this one, unfortunately, there's so much stuff going on that it's just really hard to keep track of. And you have no idea why this character hates this character. And it's really, really confusing. And it's also very dense. I mean, there's just a lot of plot and a lot of character stuff that he throws at you immediately. It does have the advantage of Yoko Kanno's music. Very experimental, weird Yoko Kanno music, but good stuff nonetheless. And unfortunately, it gave him a pretty bad reputation. And even more of a concern was the fact that a year later, for 1999, he announced he was going to do another Gundam series for the 20th anniversary of Gundam. A show called Turn-A Gundam. Also called Turn-A Gundam. Anyway, Turn-A, and by Turn-A I mean literally an upside down A, And for those of you who know your higher mathematical symbols, that means includes all. So, upside down A, a bunch of things, means everything in this set. So what he meant by that is that Turn-A is set many, many hundreds, even thousands of years in the future, in which all of the Gundam stories, even the alternate timelines, have all occurred in that in the space of that time. War, collapse, rebuild, another war, another Gundam story, so forth and so on. So basically, the main characters in this completely original story in Turn-A start stumbling across these old artifacts of old Gundam series. And, of course, they fight in them. He got Sid Mead, who did the designs for Tron and all sorts of cool things. He did all the original mecha in the show. He got Yoko Kanno to do the music. And if you've ever wanted to hear Yoko Kanno do full-scale orchestral John Williams, even Final Fantasy-style music, listen to Turn-A. All-star cast. And unfortunately, Turn-A didn't get a very good response from fans when it came out. It was very different. Someday I'll talk about Turn-A and why I think fans had that reaction and why I think Tomino kind of intended that reaction. But Turn-A didn't, had some problems there. Now, I will say that since then, it's gotten a better reputation as time goes on. And particularly American fandom, those who've seen Turn-A seem to really love it. I have not yet met or read of an American fan who watched Turn-A and didn't like it. So that says something. He followed up the next year with Overman King Gainer. Now, this had a similar problem to Brain Power, except it had a really nice budget, really fun characters, only 26 episodes. It did not have Yoko Kanno music, but it had good music nonetheless, or very appropriate music. And it has the King Gainer dance. Imagine the Lucky Star dance, but with all of the mecha dancing it. Yes, it's that awesome. And King Gainer did all right. Now, it was intended to be kind of a revolution of the mecha franchise. Didn't really get to that point. But at least it was comprehensible. And again, it has its flaws, but it was fine. Tomino then followed that up with Wings of Reen, or Rian, depending on how you look at it. These were actually light novels that Tomino wrote back in the past, and he then directed an anime adaptation of. And it's kind of Brave Radine-like. These weird ancient artifact that folks are spinning back up. And that's the last anime thing that Tomino has done up to this point in terms of a full-scale series. The only other real media appearance is that he appeared at a very bit part in the Japanese live-action movie Japan Sinks, or The Sinking of Japan, which is this big-budget disaster movie that came out a couple of years ago based on a famous novel, and where he plays the Shinto priest just sort of in one scene, just sort of kind of in the background. So he's there, as is Hideaki Anno, by the way. But Tomino is now kind of retired from doing anime, except, should be pointed out, for one very important thing. He came back to Zeta Gundam and made a 3-movie remake, if you will, of Zeta Gundam. He basically returned to it, used a lot of the original animation, made some new animation, and did kind of a retelling of that. He changes the ending around significantly, and it's a shifting around of Zeta Gundam. So it's kind of not new, but in a sense it is kind of going back and reworking things. Not the first time he's done that. He actually wrote a novelization of the original Mobile Suit Gundam, which goes back and reworks things dramatically. If you want to find a copy of that, good luck. Amazon.com currently sells it used for $995. Not kidding. Market economy, hey. Anyway, so he did the Zeta movies, but now he's basically making the rounds, doing conventions, talking to folks. He was at New York Anime Festival last year. He was at a game con over in Asia recently, where he caused a lot of protests for saying that basically video games suck. And it should be pointed out that Tomino is irascible, and he likes to say things that are provocative and to get people to think. If you were there at New York Anime Festival or saw any of this stuff or read any of this stuff, he's like that. So I think he meant to say, wait, what are video games actually accomplishing? Anyway, so Tomino has since become kind of a provocateur. He talks. He talks about his experiences, what he tried to do, at New York Anime Festival. It was awesome hearing him talk about what he tried to accomplish with the original Gundam and what he was going for in cinema. So that's what Tomino is like right now. He's still alive, still doing stuff. Will he ever do anime again? Hard to say. I mean, anime is kind of grueling. It's a lot of work. There are very few people of his age still working in anime. But who knows? I mean, there are certainly others of his age still doing it. So maybe.